picture this, a world where open source AI, can really compete with the big guys like Google and OpenAI.
Hmm.
That's the whole idea behind Tulu 3, this
Right.
new family of language models. They're really trying to shake things up.
Yeah.
And today we are diving deep into the Tulu 3 research paper.
Awesome.
You shared it with us and we're
Yeah.
super excited to unpack how they trained it,
Absolutely.
explore what it can do,
Yeah.
and really see where it fits in the whole open source AI landscape.
For sure. It's a really fascinating development, especially when you consider, some of the limitations of previous open source models.
Right.
Tulu 2 and Zephyr, for example.
Yeah.
They haven't quite been able to match the performance of those closed proprietary models from, like you said, the big companies.
Well, exactly. And the Tulu 3 researchers, they really address this head on in the paper. They see this open access to the data and the training methods
Right.
and the whole process as crucial for the AI community to really thrive.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because it's
Yeah.
not just about keeping up with the big guys. It's
Yeah.
about being transparent and fostering collaboration.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it represents a fundamental shift
Okay.
in how we're approaching AI development.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where researchers can just freely build upon each other's work,
Right.
examine the data, tweak the training methods.
Mm-hmm.
That level of openness,
Yeah.
I think, could lead to much more rapid advancements.
Yeah.
Really push the boundaries of what's possible.
It's like the difference between a walled garden and a public park.
Exactly.
Anyone can come in, learn, and contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's dive into the nuts and bolts of how Tulu 3 is actually built.
Okay.
They call their training process a recipe.
Yeah.
With 4 distinct stages.
Yes, and that first stage is data curation, which, as you might guess, is all about, selecting the right ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's gathering prompts from public data sets.
Right.
And using this pretty fascinating technique that they call persona-driven data synthesis.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Instead of just feeding the model random text,
Right.
they're creating prompts based on different personas.
Exactly.
A programmer, a historian, or even a high school student. They're giving the AI different personalities to learn from.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And they're doing this using GPT-4o to generate these unique persona-based prompts.
Wow.
So you might be wondering, what's the point of all this?
Yeah.
Well, by training on such diverse data, the model learns to adapt its communication style and tackle a wider range of tasks, just like a person who's been exposed to lots of different perspectives and experiences.
So the model isn't just learning one voice, it's learning to communicate effectively with a whole range of people.
Exactly.
Okay, so after this data feast, what's next on the menu?
Stage 2 is called supervised fine-tuning, or SFT.
Okay.
Here, the model is fed massive amounts of instruction completion pairs.
Right.
You could think of it like giving the model a textbook with examples and then quizzing it repeatedly to make sure it's learning.
So this is where it really starts to hone its core skills, like understanding instructions and generating text that follows, a specific format.
Right.
They're really drilling down on precision here.
You got it. And the researchers are very intentional about how they optimize this stage.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balance.
Okay.
They want to make sure the model excels at following instructions,
Right.
but they don't want it to become too rigid
Right.
or sacrifice its overall ability to generate creative and interesting text.
So it's like a training montage in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
We see the AI sweating it out, getting better and better with each repetition. But then stage 3 throws a curveball,
Okay.
preference tuning.
Yeah.
This one sounds a bit more mysterious.
It does a little bit.
Yeah.
This is where human feedback enters the picture.
Okay.
They use a technique called length-normalized direct preference optimization, which, while it's a mouthful,
Yeah.
essentially means they're directly aligning the model's responses
Okay.
with what humans find most helpful, accurate, and relevant.
So are they actually having humans rate the AI's responses?
Yeah.
Like thumbs up or thumbs down?
It's more nuanced than that, but you're on the right track.
Okay.
They have a system for gathering human preferences and then using that feedback to refine the model's behavior.
Got it.
It's like having a coach who constantly adjusts your technique
Right.
based on how well you're performing.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see how each stage kind of builds on the last one. It's
Right.
not just about stuffing the model with data.
Right.
It's about refining its skills and making sure it aligns with what we as humans expect.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then we arrive at the grand finale.
Okay.
Stage 4, reinforcement learning with verifiable rewards,
Yeah.
or RLVR.
RLVR, that's quite a mouthful.
It is.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But the idea is surprisingly simple.
Okay.
They train the model on tasks where the correctness of the output can be objectively verified,
Okay.
like solving math problems or writing code that executes flawlessly.
So no more subjective judgments.
Not in this stage.
Okay.
It's all about cold, hard results.
Got it.
By focusing on tasks with clear right or wrong answers, they can push the model towards even greater accuracy and reasoning abilities.
So it's like a student who's always getting feedback on their essays, but with RLVR, it's like they're also getting graded on their math tests and science projects.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
It forces them to develop a deeper understanding
Yeah.
of the underlying concept.
And that's the real game changer.
Right.
It's not just about like sounding smart.
Right.
It's about actually being smart.
Exactly.
This RLVR is definitely something I want to dig into a little bit further. But
Okay.
before we do, I'm curious about the data itself. You mentioned they really emphasize like quality and diversity, almost like creating a balanced diet for the AI.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
The researchers go to great lengths to make sure that the data used for training is clean, accurate, and free from bias.
Mm-hmm.
They even have a decontamination process to weed out potentially problematic prompts.
Like a digital detox for the AI. Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that.
Right.
And remember that persona-driven approach we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
That plays a huge role here.
Okay.
By generating prompts from all these diverse personas.
Right.
They're ensuring that the model learns from a wide range of perspectives
Mm-hmm.
and isn't just echoing a narrow slice of human experience.
Okay, so I'm getting the big picture, but I'd love to see like some specific examples
Sure.
of the kinds of data they're using.
Let's imagine a scenario where they're training the model on instruction following.
Okay.
They might generate a prompt like, write a 3-paragraph summary of the French Revolution, but make sure the second paragraph focuses on the role of women. So they're not just testing the model's knowledge, right? They're testing its ability to follow very specific instructions.
So it's not just about spitting out information. It's about being precise and understanding the nuances of what's being asked.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between a student who just like regurgitates facts from a textbook versus one who can synthesize information and like craft a nuanced argument.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then to further challenge the model,
Okay.
they might create like math word problems or coding tasks that are tailored to the expertise of the persona they're using.
Right.
For example, a prompt for the programmer persona might involve writing code to solve a complex algorithm,
Right.
while a prompt for the high school student persona might involve calculating the area of a triangle.
So they're really putting the AI through its paces, making sure it can handle a variety of intellectual challenges.
Yeah, they are.
But what about those trickier, potentially sensitive scenarios? How do they train the model to navigate those gray areas?
That's a crucial aspect of training any powerful AI.
Right.
They specifically design prompts to test the model's ability to recognize and avoid generating harmful or inappropriate content.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about building in safeguards to ensure that the model is used responsibly.
It sounds like they're trying to teach the model to be a good digital citizen.
In a sense, yeah.
Right.
It's about recognizing that these language models have the potential for both good and bad.
Right.
And it's our responsibility to guide them toward ethical and beneficial applications.
Mm-hmm.
But to really appreciate this approach, I think we need to look at how Tulu 3 actually performs.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff.
Right.
The results.
Yeah.
Let's see how Tulu 3 stacks up against the competition.
Okay. Well, they put Tulu 3 through a whole bunch of benchmark tests focusing on those core skills like, knowledge, reasoning,
Right.
math coding instruction following even safety.
It's like the AI Olympics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We want to see how it performs in different events.
Right.
Give us the highlights, especially compared to other models, both those open source ones and those from the big companies.
Okay, so when you look at the 70 billion and 8 billion parameter models,
Okay.
Tulu 3 really shines.
Okay.
They're outperforming previous open source models.
Wow.
and in some tasks, even rivaling those big closed models.
Okay.
For example, on a really challenging math reasoning benchmark called GSM-8K,
Okay.
Tulu 3 achieved a 93.5% accuracy rate.
That's impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
But I'm sure no model is perfect.
Of course not.
Did they find any areas where Tulu 3 could still improve?
Yeah, for sure. There's always room for growth.
Right.
The researchers acknowledge that Tulu 3 could still improve in areas like, understanding really long pieces of text
Yeah.
and handling those back and forth conversations,
Okay.
which are super important for things like chatbots.
That makes sense that those would be tougher nuts to crack. It's one thing to understand a single prompt or question, but quite another to maintain, like a coherent and engaging conversation over multiple turns.
Exactly. It's like the difference between giving a short presentation and having an in-depth discussion. Both require different skills.
Right.
But getting back to the evaluation,
Yeah.
how do we know these benchmarks are fair assessments?
Right.
What's stopping someone from, say, training a model on the test data itself?
Right. It's like peeking at the answers before the test.
Exactly.
That wouldn't be a true measure of understanding.
No, not at all. And the researchers are very aware of this.
Okay.
They use a technique called decontamination to ensure that there's no overlap between the training data and the benchmarks used for evaluation.
Okay, so they're like making sure the athletes haven't seen the obstacle course before the competition.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm starting to see the level of rigor they've put into this whole process. It's not just about building a model. It's about building one that can stand up to scrutiny and be evaluated fairly.
Absolutely.
So based on all this, what are the researchers most excited about?
Well,
What are the big takeaways from this whole Tulu 3 endeavor?
what stands out to me is their dedication to pushing the boundaries of open source development.
Okay.
They're not just releasing a model.
Right.
They're sharing their whole process.
Yeah.
From the data curation to the training methods
Right.
to the evaluation techniques.
It's almost like they're giving away the secret sauce.
Yeah, kinda.
I mean, why would they be so open when companies like OpenAI are keeping their methods so closely guarded?
Well, it goes back to their belief that a more open AI ecosystem benefits everyone.
Okay.
They want to empower the entire AI community
Right.
to build on their work, to examine it, to critique it,
Yeah.
and to push the field forward collectively.
Yeah, I like that.
And they're especially enthusiastic about the potential of RLVR.
Okay, RLVR, yes. The technique that focuses on those tasks with objectively verifiable outcomes.
Exactly.
It's like training an AI with a laser focus on accuracy and logical reasoning.
Right.
But shifting gears a bit,
Okay.
are there any potential downsides to making such powerful AI models freely available?
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Right. What about the risks of misuse?
Right. And the researchers acknowledge that open access comes with responsibility.
Of course.
They emphasize the need for ethical guidelines and safeguards to prevent these models from being used for harmful purposes.
It's like giving everyone access to a powerful tool.
Right.
We need to make sure it's used for good.
Exactly.
But overall, it seems like the potential benefits of open source AI outweigh those risks.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where everyone, not just a handful of companies, has access to these cutting-edge AI tools.
Yeah.
It could revolutionize fields like research education, even artistic expression.
It's almost like democratizing AI,
Exactly.
making it accessible to the masses.
Yeah. And with that democratization comes the responsibility to ensure that these powerful tools are used ethically and for the benefit of everyone. But there's another interesting aspect to this research that I think our listener will find fascinating.
Okay, what's that?
The researchers, they kind of delve into some thought-provoking dilemmas about AI evaluation itself,
Okay.
particularly this idea of overfitting to benchmarks like IFEVL.
Overfitting, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Isn't that a problem in other areas of data science too?
It is.
Like when a model becomes too good at predicting a specific data set,
Yeah.
but fails to generalize to new data.
You nailed it.
Oh.
And it's a concern in AI as well.
Okay.
A model might become so specialized in acing a specific benchmark
Right.
that it doesn't truly understand the underlying concepts.
So the AI might look intelligent on paper, but not truly grasp what it's doing.
Right. It's like a student who memorizes the answers for a test without actually learning the material.
That's a bit unsettling.
It is, and it raises a fundamental question.
Yeah, what's that?
How do we truly measure an AI's capabilities?
Right.
Do we need more dynamic and adaptive benchmarks
Okay.
that evolve as AI evolves?
It's like we need a constantly evolving AI IQ test.
Exactly.
Something that can really assess its understanding, not just its ability to mimic patterns.
Precisely. And that's a key takeaway from this
Yeah.
deep dive.
Yeah.
As AI becomes more sophisticated,
Yeah.
so too must our methods for evaluating and understanding it.
Right.
It's a continuous challenge that the entire field is wrestling with.
Okay. I'm definitely sensing a theme here. It's not just about the technical advancements. It's about the philosophical implications as well.
Absolutely. And those implications become even more pronounced when we consider the sheer scale of these models.
Okay.
Remember, the researchers didn't just stop at the 70 billion parameter model.
Right.
They took it a step further,
Okay.
scaling their Tulu 3 recipe to a massive 405 billion parameter model,
Wow.
built on top of Llama 3.1.
Now that's what I call supersized AI.
It is?
I can barely wrap my head around a number that big.
Yeah, it's huge.
What motivated them to push the boundaries like that? It's like they wanted to see if their recipe, could still work when dealing with a truly massive model.
Yeah.
Did this supersized AI live up to the hype?
Well, it's pretty remarkable, actually.
Okay.
The 405 billion parameter model showed even better performance compared to its smaller 70 billion sibling.
Wow.
On many of the benchmark tasks, it achieved results that were on par with or even surpassed those of DeepSeek V3 and GPT-4o.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
It sounds like open source development can really compete with the industry giants, even when it comes to these massive complex models.
Right.
But I imagine training a model of that scale must come with its own set of challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Training and evaluating a model with 405 billion parameters requires a crazy amount of computational power and resources.
Right.
They actually had to shorten the RLVR training
Okay.
due to these constraints.
It makes you wonder, what could be achieved if those limitations weren't there? If we had access to even more computational power?
Yeah, it's a tantalizing thought.
Yeah.
What breakthroughs could we unlock if we could just push these models even further?
Right.
But, even with the limitations they face, the results are still incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
It really demonstrates that the Tulu 3 recipe is robust and scalable, even at these almost unimaginable scales.
It's a testament to the researchers and their commitment to really pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, it is.
I really appreciate that they were so transparent, not only about their successes, but also about the approaches that didn't quite work out.
I agree. That kind of transparency is so valuable.
Yeah.
They discussed techniques like online DPO and rejection sampling, which they explored, but ultimately decided not to include in the final Tulu 3 recipe.
Okay.
And by sharing these sort of unfruitful paths,
Yeah.
they're potentially saving other researchers a ton of time and resources.
It's almost like a map that highlights the dead ends and helps guide future exploration. They're not just contributing a model, they're contributing to the collective knowledge of the whole field.
Right, and I think that's a great way to sum up this entire deep dive.
Okay.
Tulu 3 is more than just a model or a set of algorithms. It represents a philosophy, a commitment to open collaboration,
Right.
and this relentless pursuit of excellence in AI development.
Yeah.
It offers a glimpse into a future where the tools of AI are accessible to everyone,
Right.
empowering a whole new wave of innovation and discovery.
It's a future where the power to shape AI isn't limited to a select few, but is spread far and wide, fueling creativity and progress.
Exactly.
It's a future I'm really excited to be a part of, and I hope our listener feels the same way.
I'm sure they do. After all, they were the one who brought this research to our attention.
That's right. So to our listener, what will you create with the power of open source AI?
Yeah.
The future is yours to shape. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be doing a deep dive into your groundbreaking work.
That would be awesome.
Until then, keep exploring.